Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I am going to talk a bit about Overwatch League free agency for the 2021 season. The 2020 season is now officially behind us as of about a week ago now, so we now are into the 2021 season. So let's take a look at what is going on in free agency and talk about what you need to know to make your way through free agency this year. Now, there's a lot of different things to know about and to follow closely if you want to be, well, if you want to make sure that you're actually following closely and accurately and to make sure that you have the correct information at all times. Now, in this video, I am not going to go into detail on who has or hasn't been signed. I will link in the description to an article from .esports from the wonderful Liz Richardson, who has a list with all of the different signings and stuff that has happened. If you want to check it out, it is in the description. Like I say, there is a ton that has happened. A ton of different players have been released, and it's crazy. So, like I said, if you want to check it out, I'll link to that in the description. But let's start talking about the key things you need to know about free agency and how to tackle it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the dates that you need to know. Now, some of these dates have already passed. Some of them are happening right now. Some of them are still coming up. So let's talk about those. In the description, you'll find a link to the Overwatch League roster construction rules for the 2021 Overwatch League season. There's some stuff in here such as contract changes and two-way player changes, but I'm not going to be talking about that. I am exclusively talking about the Overwatch League key dates. So let's jump into these dates and make sure that you are in the know for what is going on. So, two dates, by the time this video has gone up, will have already passed. The first is October 12th, which is when teams may begin submitting player trades for league office review, as well as October 16th, which is when the deadline by which teams must exercise any options to extend existing contracts which were initially executed in 2020. What that means is, if a player signed a new contract in 2020, then their extension had to happen by October 16th, which was Friday. Any player whose contract existed prior to the 2020 season will be at a later date, which we'll talk about here in a second. The next key date is October 23rd, which is, of course, this Friday. Which is any player whose contract was not extended that signed their contract in 2020 becomes a free agent. So their contract expires on the 23rd. Anybody whose extension didn't come in on Friday, the 23rd is when they become a free agent. And on the 24th, they can begin to sign as free agents. So you won't see any announcements most likely until the 24th, because that is when things will be finalized. And you probably won't see any announcements right away, but there's obviously names and whatnot to follow that could be important. So those are the two most important dates to look out for right now. This Friday and this Saturday, that is when players become free agents, at least some of them become free agents, and when they can start to get signed. The next important date is November 13th, and on that date, any player whose contract was initially signed in 2019 becomes, that's the deadline for teams to exercise their team options to extend an existing contract. So anybody who is signed to a 2+1 for the 2019 season, that is when that happens. That is when those players will be able to become free agents, essentially. That's when the date will be known. Those players are not free agents yet, but they can also mutually part ways. November 20th is the date when those players become free agents. So it's an entire month, pretty much, after 2019 players become free agents. So I think a lot of the teams are just going to try to mutually part ways anyway, because you want to be able to get on a team as quickly as possible. So those are the important dates for this year. Then in January, all teams have to have a minimum of 7 players signed to season-long contracts for the 2021 season. So, you should have seen the dates on the screen, so you know what is going on. But those are the important dates and the key dates to keep your eyes on for different free agency things going into the 2021 season. Now, let's talk about what you need to know and what to look for and follow when it comes to free agency. John Spector had a couple of tweets a couple of days ago talking about players getting released and how free agency works, and he was essentially saying, like, teams will know who are and aren't free agents. The way the contracts work is all somewhat important. I'll link to the thread in the comments down below, or in the description down below. It's not that important to what I'm saying, but it is important to know and important to keep your eye on. But let's talk about what you need to pay attention to when it comes to looking at free agency and how you know that you're getting the most accurate information. Number one, the best way to follow is to make sure that you follow all of the teams on Twitter, or in some way follow the teams on Twitter. That is where they make the official announcements. If you want to make sure that you are following the information accurately, and you want to make sure that the information you are getting is correct, and you want to get it as quickly as possible, then follow the teams on Twitter. There are no better ways to get free agency news than that. You might see it on Reddit. You might see it on some other platform, but that is the best way for you to make sure that you don't miss out on anything with free agency. It's also about knowing kind of when free agency news usually happens. Don't expect announcements to be made at really random times. Expect them to be made on the hour or maybe on the half hour. Stuff like that. North American teams are not going to make announcements in the middle of the night. Asia teams usually will, because their audience is in Asia, so time zones matter in that way. So 100% most important thing to take away and to make sure that you are doing and to make sure that you are following is the teams themselves. The teams will always be the ones that will officially announce when they sign players. There are always leaks, and there are certain notable leakers who have leaked stuff in the past. Obviously, Slasher is one. Halo of Thoughts is another, though I don't know if he is still involved with Overwatch leaking for this year. He's talked about being involved in the past, and then he's talked about no longer being involved, and so it's a whole thing, but you'll see it usually. You'll get that type of information. Competitive Overwatch, the subreddit, is a great place if you want to make sure that you're getting accurate information. Usually, the best sources will get upvoted there, and tweets will make their way there. So that is also a good place to look if you don't follow everybody that usually tweets out leaks and reveals leaks. Those are the big things to take away. Understand, though, that there's obviously things that are going to change. Understand that some of these players getting released now, just because they're released or they're not, their contract isn't getting extended, doesn't mean they won't be on the same team next year. Doesn't mean they will be on the same team next year, obviously. But in a lot of cases, there may be a player who gets released from their contract so that they can test free agency and then take the contract they think is the best. And that could involve them returning to the same team. Sometimes teams just want to restructure a contract, and so they have to release them from the contract and then try to sign them on back to a new contract. There's a lot of things that can happen like that, so it's always important to keep an eye on it. Realistically, the only thing that you can be sure of, and the way that you can know that you have accurate information and that you have the best possible knowledge, is to follow the teams on Twitter. Follow their Liquipedia pages closely if you want, and of course follow the free agent tracker that I linked to in the description. There will also be something that will be up soon. If it's up by the time this video goes up, I will link it, but it probably won't be. But the Overwatch League website will post an article basically showing you every team's players and which ones are under contract with a team option or free agents. They did it last year, and they are doing it again this year, according to John Spector, so be on the lookout for that. That is something very important and very good to look at if you want to make sure that there will be information that you can follow. And that is one of the best ways to follow things as well, because that way you know before free agency even begins the contract status of every player on every single team. But like I said, a number of players have already been released or already looking for team, free agents, whatever it may be. The Gladiators have gotten rid of some players. The Uprising, the Fusion, the Shock, the Mayhem, the Outlaws, Spitfire, Charge, Rain, Fuel, Titans, Valiant. A bunch of different teams have made some moves, have put some players on the market. The Hangzhou Spark have as well. This article has not been fully updated, but there are a bunch of different things to follow and things to keep your eye on. So that's really what it comes down to. This for me is just my simple way, my very, very simple, very brief kind of what you need to know and who you need to be following. Always follow the teams. Liz Richardson is a good person to follow on Twitter. I believe her @ is Ms. Liz _. I'll link to her Twitter in the description down below. She's a good person to follow. And any other leakers that come in out of the woodworks during this offseason, I will also link to them as the offseason progresses. I will try to kind of keep track of different things like that in the description every single video that I make, so that you are not out of the loop if you want to follow that type of stuff. I'm not going to likely make videos talking about major free agency moves. I might make videos talking about teams releasing players and the rebuilding that teams take going into 2021, but I'm most likely going to save a lot of those thoughts for when I do my team recap videos once they have their rosters situated. But seeing as we also won't potentially see all of those teams because of some of these recent rumors and whatnot about the 2021 season, we'll see what happens. I might talk about some things if it seems like there's some time in between now and the start of the season. But that's all I have for you today. Check the description for any of the resources that I talked about today. But that is all for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing for more content like this in the future. Comment down below your thoughts on free agency, any player that you're hopeful to see get signed to a team. If you're a fan of a team, what types of players would you like to see them sign? You can let me know down in the comments down below, but that is all for me. I hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy, and until next time, bye-bye.